Sheila Carter had always thrived in chaos, but this time, it wasn't chaos she was chasing. It was blood. The moment she stumbled upon the obscure trail of irregular hospital files, flagged under Luna Nozawa's alias during the hours following the beach house collapse, she knew something was off. The digital logs were fragmented. Discrepancies in Luna's vitals. A vanished transfer order. No death certificate. No confirmation. Just silence, and silence in Sheila's world meant deception. She dug deeper. Found a billing code to a private clinic that didn't exist. Then she made a phone call. Not to Deacon. Not to Bill. To Lee Finnegan. Lee hadn't expected to hear from Sheila again, especially not with that voice, so calm, so composed, yet soaked in poison. Sheila didn't scream. She didn't threaten. She simply laid it out. She knew Lee had moved Luna. She knew Luna wasn't dead. And if Lee wanted that secret to remain hidden, she'd have to make a deal. Sheila's terms were non-negotiable. Help Luna recover in secret, off the grid, and allow Sheila to be involved. Not as a nurse. Not as a fugitive. As a grandmother. Lee's first instinct was to slam the phone down. But she didn't. Because the truth was, Luna was alive. Barely. And Lee had moved her out of the hospital the moment the media storm began. She had falsified records, created a death narrative, and taken Luna to a private apartment far from the city. She wasn't acting out of malice. She was protecting her niece from the world, from questions, shame, and exposure. Luna had suffered severe trauma. She wasn't ready. But now, with Sheila breathing down her neck and threatening to blow it all up, Lee had to make a decision. And fast. The agreement was uneasy. Tense. Toxic. But it held. Lee brought Sheila into the apartment. A sterile, whitewashed loft hidden behind layers of security. It had been converted into a makeshift medical suite, monitors for drips, cooling mats, sedatives. Luna lay unconscious, her body still healing from the internal damage sustained in the collapse. Her mind, however, remained a mystery. The trauma hadn't just shattered bones. It had wiped out pieces of her memory, scrambled her identity. And now, she was in the hands of two women who barely trusted each other, and who both wanted different things from her recovery. Sheila played her part. She watched Luna, held her hand when Lee wasn't looking, whispered promises to her granddaughter in the dark. But behind that mask of care, she was keeping score. This wasn't just about redemption. It was about claim. About legacy. Luna was hers by blood. And no one, not even Lee, would take that away from her. But something wasn't right. One evening, Lee returned to the apartment after a supply run and noticed the back door had been unlocked. Nothing was missing. Nothing appeared out of place until she checked the drawer beside Luna's bed. A medical chart was gone. A used latex glove had been discarded carelessly on the floor. And on the table, smudged into the glass, was a single handprint that didn't belong to either of them. Someone had been inside. Lee confronted Sheila immediately. Sheila denied everything. Swore on her life that she never let anyone in. But her eyes betrayed something: hesitation. Panic. Not the kind of panic that comes from guilt, but the kind that comes from being outplayed. They checked the security feed. Gone. Wiped. It didn't make sense until Luna stirred. Not fully awake, but more reactive. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes fluttered. She began murmuring. Disconnected words. Then a name. Not Will. Not her mother. Not even her own. She said, Steffy. Lee froze. Sheila's eyes narrowed. Steffy. Why would Luna wake up thinking about Steffy? Why not the party? Why not the fire? Why not Will, the boy she chased across the masked chaos of Il Giardino? Sheila had a theory. Someone had been in the apartment. Someone who got to Luna before she could wake naturally. Someone who whispered things into her unconscious mind. Programming. Manipulation. Maybe even lies. The question wasn't just who it was. It was what they wanted. Because if Luna woke up full of hatred, full of rage, especially towards Steffy. It wouldn't just be dangerous. It would be perfect. For someone. Sheila began to suspect the worst. That she wasn't the only one who had a stake in Luna's recovery. That someone was feeding her venom, using her as a weapon, preparing her to erupt the moment she opened her eyes. Maybe to take down Steffy. Maybe to fracture the Foresters again. Whoever it was, they had been careful, but not careful enough to erase that handprint. Lee wanted to shut everything down. Move Luna. Start fresh. But Sheila refused. We're too close, she said. She's coming back. We can't lose her now. And then it happened. Luna opened her eyes. At first, she blinked slowly, disoriented by the sterile white light and unfamiliar surroundings. She tried to speak but coughed instead. Sheila leaned in, holding her head. Lee administered a sedative but kept the dose low. Luna looked at them both. Confused. Then afraid. What happened? She asked. Where am I? Sheila reached for her hand. You're safe, baby. You've been through something terrible, but we're here. You're going to be okay. But Luna's hand jerked away. Her eyes hardened. Then came the question. Where's Steffy? Lee hesitated. Sheila glanced at her, then said, Why do you ask? Luna's face contorted, something between confusion and fury. She left me, she said. She set me up. I remember. She did this. Lee looked to Sheila, eyes wide with horror. This wasn't right. Luna wasn't supposed to wake up angry. She wasn't supposed to have this narrative. Someone had implanted it. Luna sat up slightly, wincing, but determined. She knew I was there. She told me to stay hidden. Then the house collapsed. She walked away. None of that had happened. At least, not that way. And suddenly, Lee understood. Someone had turned Luna into a weapon. Sheila's smile faltered. Not because Luna was wrong, but because this rage, this direction, it didn't come from Luna herself. It had been planted. And now, they had a girl with a fractured mind, half-truths stitched into memory, and a target. Steffy. Sheila leaned in. Luna, sweetie, we're going to fix this. You're going to remember everything. But you have to trust me. Luna stared at her. Cold. Silent. Then whispered, I only trust myself now. The game had changed. Because Luna wasn't just a victim anymore. She was about to become the catalyst. The confrontation was never supposed to escalate. Steffy Forrester thought she was walking into a conversation, maybe an ugly one, maybe even a heated one, but still just words. She came alone to the address Luna had sent, a secluded rental on the edge of town, where shadows clung to every wall and silence screamed louder than words. Luna had asked to speak. Said she remembered things. Said she needed answers. Steffy agreed, not because she trusted Luna, but because she feared what the girl might say next to the media, to Bill, to anyone. But when she arrived, the door was already cracked open. And Sheila was there. That was the first sign things were wrong. Sheila Carter standing beside Luna like they were a team. Like this wasn't some spontaneous, desperate outburst from a confused young woman, but a trap with corners and depth. Luna sat still on the couch, pale, eyes unreadable. Sheila stood near the kitchen, arms crossed, that maddening smirk barely hiding the wild beneath. What is this? Steffy demanded. You should have just stayed away, Luna said flatly. Sheila didn't speak at first. She just watched Steffy, measuring her. She remembers now, she finally said. Everything. Every lie. Every manipulation. Every moment you left her behind. That's not what happened, Steffy snapped. Luna stood up. Her voice trembled, but her hands didn't. You made me think I was safe. You knew I was in that house. And you left me there. That's not true, Steffy said, stepping forward. You disappeared. You ran from the fallout. No one knew you survived until it was too late. She knew, Luna said, gesturing at Sheila. She came for me. She found me. You let her shape your memory? She didn't lie. You did. The room thickened with fury, years of tension rising into the space between them. Steffi reached into her purse, not for a weapon, but for her phone. "I'm calling Finn. You need help. You're not thinking clearly." That was when Sheila moved. It happened fast. Too fast. From the drawer beside the kitchen, where she'd clearly stashed it, Sheila pulled out a handgun. Steffi froze. Luna flinched. But Sheila didn't point it. She held it at her side, low, almost calm. "No one's calling anyone," Sheila said. "Not yet." Steffi narrowed her eyes. "You brought a gun to this?" "To protect Luna. In case you showed up and started spinning another story. You're sick. Not as sick as what you've done to her." Steffi took a cautious step forward. "Put it down." Luna shouted, "Stop." Steffi lunged. Sheila jerked back. The gun went off. The shot cracked through the air like thunder, loud, final, echoing against the walls. But no one screamed. No one even registered the sound until they turned and saw who was standing in the doorway. Finn. And then, who was falling? Lee, who had followed Finn after reading a message from Luna's hacked medical records. Lee, who had come to warn them all. Lee, who had seen the gun, the screaming, the moment before impact. She had stepped into the frame of the door, just in time to take the bullet meant for no one. She collapsed instantly. Blood spreading beneath her. Finn screamed, tearing through the room. He ran to her, knelt, already pressing into her wound. "Call 911, he roared. But no one moved. Luna was frozen. Steffi couldn't breathe. Sheila, weapon still in hand, dropped it like it burned. "She wasn't supposed to be here," Sheila whispered. Finn didn't respond. He only pressed harder, checking her pulse. She was alive. Barely. And there wasn't time. He looked up, face white with panic, and locked eyes with Steffi. "We can't wait for an ambulance. We can't take her to a hospital," Sheila said. "Not with what just happened." Steffi turned on her. "Shut up." But Finn was already lifting Lee in his arms. "I'm taking her to the clinic. We have 10 minutes. Either help or get out of my way." They got out of his way. The next 4 hours passed in fragments. Finn operated alone, using a private surgical suite at a closed trauma unit he still had access to from his time in emergency medicine. No paperwork. No cameras. No questions. Steffi stood outside the glass wall, staring in horror. Luna sat in silence. Sheila paced, trying to make herself useful, trying not to break. She'd shot someone. It didn't matter if it was an accident. The woman she shot was Lee. And now everything was spiraling again. When Finn emerged, gloves stained red, eyes dark, he didn't speak at first. "She's stable," he said finally. "She'll need weeks of care. Maybe more. But she's alive." No one moved. And then he looked directly at Sheila. "If she dies, you go to prison. You understand that?" Sheila didn't answer. Finn looked at Steffi. "What are we doing?" It was the question hanging in the air. Report it and lose everything. Or hide it and owe Sheila silence. Steffi felt the weight of it. The headlines. The fallout. The fracture in their marriage. In their family. Her kids. Her name. Everything was at stake. "We say it was an accident," she said slowly. "A cleaning mishap. No police." Finn's eyes widened. "You want to lie?" "I want to protect our family. She tried to kill you once. She's the reason Luna's even alive right now. She's the reason my mother's in surgery." "Then you decide." Steffi snapped. "You tell the police what happened. Let the world find out we were all in a room while Sheila Carter pulled a gun. You want the press camping on our lawn? You want Bill Spencer making it the front page war again? You want Hope and Thomas and everyone dragged into another courtroom." Finn didn't answer. Because he knew she was right. They all stood there, hands dirty, trapped by the very secret they wanted buried. And the only person who had seen everything? Lee. Still unconscious. Still bleeding. But the moment she woke up, she would remember it all. The gun. The scream. The shot. The silence that followed. And whether she stayed silent too, would decide everything.